It's going. If you guys want to, I know you guys are in the X space already. If you guys want to watch, we will be live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and also X video. So, hey, Joel, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. How'd your threadcast go? I saw you guys were just live. Bear with me for just a second. Getting the recording up. There we go. All right. Anderson was saying no sound. Uh, Sunseeker said just a little bit busy yesterday. Yeah, team was hammering away, hammering away. Joel, if you do want to come live, and also I see Task and some others in here, you guys, anyone is really welcome to come live if you guys want to. We can just kind of, I did this kind of spontaneously. So my only ask though is if you do go, want to jump on stage, if you can join the Zoom as well as the X space, um, because we've got the YouTube stream and the video going, so people will only be able to hear you on, we want to make sure everybody can hear on all of them. So what I'm going to do is I will drop the invite link in the Threadcast, and whoever wants to join, Joel, Task, Eric, Sunseeker, whoever wants to join, you guys are all welcome. So I'm dropping that Zoom link, and then I'll just accept you from the waiting room, and then just be ready to have your X space mic hot as well as your Zoom video and audio. So if you want to be on all three of those, just because I want to make sure that everybody can see everywhere. Let's see here. Andersino, you can hear now. Awesome. Task said YouTube's working great. Andersino's dropping some firefighter GIFs. Yeah, I titled this one Firefighter AMA because we've been putting out fires on every front. It's been pretty wild. Just with the amount of things we're dealing with. I've been talking to a lot of people I know about everything that's been going on, and it's like usually we deal with stuff like this like a few times a year. You have these kind of issues that come up. But lately it's been like every single day. I feel like since the beginning of this year, we've been just dealing with like catastrophic problems. So it's been pretty crazy to deal with all the things that have been coming our way. But that's why I title it Firefighter, because I feel like I have become a full-time firefighter. So just constantly putting out every fire you can imagine. But we keep making progress, not only on putting out fires. Hopefully you guys, I'll actually drop a link. If you guys didn't see the blog post from yesterday, I'll drop a link to that right now in the Threadcast. But one of the fires that had come up, about it was on Tuesday, actually, right around. So if you guys were here for the AMA on Tuesday, you could probably tell I was extremely distracted. Right around the time of the AMA, we got some notifications that some people were saying that the login methods, may have a security vulnerability, in essentially in the way that we design them. And, there's different ways to design login methods. And, essentially it was just said in various Hive chat rooms that people didn't like the way that we had integrated it. It took a little bit of the risk away from the user, and it put the risk on the network or the server, structure that we had. So, let me first say a disclaimer that there were no security leaks. There were no hacks of any kind. Nothing was, lost or stolen or whatever. So this was all preventative and proactive on our part. But in a few different chat rooms, people essentially just said, the INLEO sign-up methods aren't, as secure as they think they should be, and they're built in a way that they didn't agree with. So, while I think there's some trade-offs to both, and I can see, both sides of the argument, I'm fully willing to take in feedback and say, well, if it's, and obviously this is Web3, so people are going to tend to prefer more, even if it's less secure, they're going to prefer that the user be at fault if anything happens. So we essentially changed the login and sign up structure a little bit. To require a PIN code and also to have local storage instead of it using a cookies session creation. So without getting too technical, essentially we just moved the way that you sign up and log in to INLEO from being like a cookies session to being, a kind of network based login to being a local storage or like local to your browser login. So it puts the risk matrix more so in your local browser instead of to the INLEO servers. So Andersino said, so we who used LeoAuth should not be worried. No, you shouldn't be worried. There was no leak of any kind. And also nothing, and the comment that kind of started all of this was INLEO is storing your keys, which is not true. INLEO has never stored your keys and we never will. The way the sign up method worked is that your keys were used to initiate a session to log into the site. And essentially there is a potential vulnerability called like a middleman, where essentially someone could try to interrupt that connection and steal your keys. There were no keys that were leaked. So, and no keys were ever saved in that process. So, now that we've changed this process, there is no previous data that could have gotten leaked. And there's no saved data. So, like I said, this was all proactive and preventative. Nothing was lost or leaked. And you shouldn't be worried if you used LeoAuth in the past. By the way, another disclaimer, and I see Tasks comment. He said people should be logging in via keychain. That is something that should be stressed to each person. So, each login method has its own security vulnerabilities. And we're talking specifically about LeoAuth and Keystore. So this doesn't affect Hive Keychain, for example, as being another login method. The reason why Hive Keychain offers a lot more security than other login methods is because it's an extension, which means that your keys are living in a sandbox environment on that extension, as opposed to living in like your local storage inside of your browser. So it offers more security to have that set up. Um, that being said, and I talked about this in the post, most people want when they first sign up, they're not going to want to, go out and download Hive Keychain and learn this whole new extension in order to literally just make one thread. Like, most of these people that are signing up or that we want to sign up to Hive, we need to give them a really easy experience, especially from the beginning. Give them a really easy way to sign in, a really low bandwidth way to sign in, and then allow them to make a thread, make some comments, make a blog post, earn a little bit of Hive, HBD, and Leo, or Dash or whatever they want to earn, and get like hooked on the platform a little bit. Like you don't hook someone in by trying to sell them the entire thing. I forgot where I heard this, but you don't walk up to a girl in a bar and just ask her to go home with you. There's some banter that happens first, and that is, building rapport with the person. So it's no different when you want to get someone to sign up to Hive. You need some method of kind of hooking them in and getting them interested in the platform before you can take them the next step and say, okay, well, you're signed in with something like Keystore or, LeoAuth. There's more secure and better methods of logging in that, by the way, can also get you access to a lot of other Hive apps. And then, we sell them on Hive Keychain and we say, hey, like you can download this extension and you can, put your seed phrase from your Keystore into the extension, and that will allow you to sign in, to INLEO and other Hive apps with a more secure environment and kind of more connectivity in general. So I think it's really important to have different sign up methods with a spectrum of ease of use, ease of access, and security. So all that we've ever tried to do is build more types of login methods and sign up methods to entice new users to come into Hive that may not look at something like Hive Keychain and say, "Hey, I'm going to go out and download this whole extension and then and then learn this new blockchain." Which who knows if what they're claiming is even true? Like I know we try to sell people on Hive with like fast, free transactions and being able to earn on your content, but you have to remember that we as Hivers, like we already know that all of this stuff is true, but most people out there in the world, especially in crypto, are extremely skeptical. So, selling them on something that they've never seen before is a very hard thing to do. So my opinion and my approach has always been, make it as easy as possible, make it as simple as possible to get them in and making a couple threads, making a couple blog posts. And then once they kind of get familiar with the platform, then you can start to teach them more things. You can say, okay, it's kind of like that drip model of teaching people things. You say, okay, well, there's this Hive keychain thing. Here's why it's more secure. Here's why it's better. Here's why I could connect you to other Hive apps. And then, you obviously progress from there. And then they become more, of a full-time Hiver. If you guys try to reminisce on how you originally joined this blockchain, I would venture to guess that you didn't just immediately get to Hive and on day one you went out to every different app that was out there. You signed in. You made a video. You made a blog post. You made a thread. You made a short. You voted on proposals. You voted on witnesses. Like there's no way you did all of that on day one. So you joined from something enticed you enough to say, I'm going to learn what this is. You joined the blockchain, and then over time you became more and more familiar with different things. And one thing I've experienced on Hive, which I'm sure many of you have, is kind of this continuous learning. Like you almost like learn about a new thing that's related to Hive, almost every day or on a regular basis. So there's so many onions to peel back, or so many layers to this onion to peel back over time. And expecting a new user to just jump straight into the deep end is not how you're going to get mass adoption. So yeah, you need to drip feed people more information over time. And I think having more login methods is a good thing. That being said, user security is my number one priority. So if we have any capability or capacity to make it more secure, while still offering a functional and easy to use user experience, that's obviously going to be something that I approach it with. Let's see here. I need to get this threadcast on another tab because you guys are typing so fast. I see Tass said when I joined there was no video. Yeah, I mean it's when I joined it was you could make like blog posts and you could reply to people when I joined. So that was pretty much all that we saw. Sunseeker said it's like the light accounts. Crypto bros don't like to verify with X because many accounts were compromised that way. It's not us, but it happened. Yeah, I don't know if there was another platform that had that. I mean, we've obviously never had that issue, but yeah, it's there's going to be a security trade-off and a usability trade-off to really every login method. So it should be up to the user to quickly and easily understand what the trade-offs are and then decide what method they want to join with. So, I do think we can improve the UI in terms of how we explain that to users. So I don't know if you guys noticed this. Let me see if I can just pull it up really quick and grab a screenshot. But one of the things we pushed out in this update, and by the way, I had the dev team literally stay up for 24 hours straight so that we could roll all this stuff out. I'm gonna have to log in to get the screenshot. But while I do that, we were literally up for 24 hours straight doing this stuff. And we essentially completely changed the methodology for Leo auth and key store signups and sign-ins to make it more secure with the local storage method. And a part of all of those updates were, there was like a wide range of updates to doing that. And one of the things was the pin code that I talked about. So, we built this new UI for pin codes. I'm dropping the screenshot here. So the screenshot shows you like when you sign in with LeoAuth, you need to create a pin code, and then every time you come to the UI, you have to re-enter that pin code because it's not saving your posting key in local storage. It's saving an encrypted version of your posting key in local storage that you have to decrypt every time you come to the site. And if you leave the site and come back later, it doesn't just keep your key in there. You have to re-enter that PIN code. So it adds a lot of extra security. But what you'll notice that we added to the UI yesterday is that it explains how LeoAuth works. So it says your posting key is encrypted locally in your browser and is unlocked via your PIN code. Your keys are never broadcast over any network. And while convenient, LeoAuth is not the most secure method for logging in. We recommend Hive Keychain as a more secure alternative. And then there's a button there that says learn more. And if you click it, it takes you to the Hive Keychain website where you can learn about Hive Keychain and download it. So, um, so again, my goal is always user security, but also having user friendliness. So you need both, and it's not an easy balance to walk. Um, so to have both, we obviously need to do a lot of really, really impactful things on both front end and back end, and then also in terms of education. So, we have done our best in the past and will always continue to do our best. So we take in feedback, and there were a lot of people in the Hive ecosystem who gave us really good feedback on how we can improve this stuff. So one thing I wanted to show in that blog post I linked is that, not only do we have a willingness to, hear people out and hear feedback, but we're quick. The INLEO team is quick to develop things and release them, and obviously to do testing and production releases. So, we don't waste any time. Obviously Joel's in the audience, and he and I were talking in Croatia about the Dash integration in September, and obviously by November we were rolling things out. So the INLEO team doesn't waste time with anything, and it's important to me that we always kind of stay on the forefront of innovation. Um, but again, user security is a huge priority, and I just wanted to make that hyper clear, to the broader Hive world, uh, that will always take it as a major priority. And if there's any way we can improve it, anybody is welcome to give me either public or private feedback on what we can improve and make better. Sunseeker, yeah, I think we can add the AI translation. Well, I guess the problem with that is that if they've never logged in, then there's no way for the UI to know to translate that. So, um, one thing we've considered working on is the ability to change the language based on where the user is from automatically. So I know that we've kind of looked into that. So probably down the road. M coins. I don't know, but I assume all these login methods are much more secure than legacy Web 2. Yeah, I mean, Web 2 is very much not secure. It relies heavily on two-factor authentication in order to be secure. And I actually have a lot of ideas around two-factor authentication for Hive logins. So I think that's something we could develop down the road also. But yeah, I think that in crypto, like if you custody your keys well, and you follow good security measures, you're far more secure on Web3 than you are on Web 2. Yeah, poor Sunseeker said the poor devs made from other material. Shout out to them for tackling emergencies so fast. We've had bugs, but when it comes to something really important, they do it in a few hours. Yeah, it's we're always working on not only it's developing something like INLEO, and obviously we have Leo Dex also. So, we've got this ecosystem of apps on both the front end and back end side. It requires that we not only, fix bugs that you guys report, but we also are pushing forward new technology. And then when emergencies come up, we have to shutter on both of the first two things and then immediately shift our focus to fixing the immediate, emergency, which is why I titled this AMA the Firefighter AMA, because when there's an emergency, we just all hands on deck, fix the issue that's right in front of us, and then push out a release ASAP. So I hope that it shows that when we're always working on a lot of things, but when the dev team needs to come together to really focus on something, it's just gets done really fast. I like all the firefighting games. It's pretty funny. The African man, that's a good question. So the Dash integration brought the key store login method. So with another integration, would we have other login methods added? Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw the screenshot that I posted um, about this. Let's see if I can grab it. Let's see. Here, I'm pasting this screenshot in the threadcast now. So you can see that there's some new login methods here in the join INLEO page. So yeah, we are working on new integrations. It's not there's like so with Key Store, we actually have opened up the doors to a lot of, different integrations with other blockchains. Obviously Dash being our first and foremost focus on that. But it also opens us up to a lot of other chains and being able to integrate them. So we you know we essentially don't have to add more login methods for a lot of the collaborations that we're aiming to do this year. That being said, having more wallet options will essentially just make it easier for other users to sign up and join Hive through INLEO. So we're working on Phantom, Control, Multisig, MetaMask, and a few other major wallets. We've actually built this entire wallet framework. Uh, and we're going to be releasing it to Leo Dex first and then INLEO second. Um, but this wallet framework will allow you to sign up and join Hive using pretty much any wallet. So, I think there's like 15 to 20 wallets that we've already got integrated. So we're going to be releasing that framework. We'll most likely release the Hive part of it, one by one. I think it's a better approach to do it that way. And they all use essentially what Leo Auth uses to sign people in. They all kind of use something similar. So like you'll notice for Keystore, the update for Keystore since yesterday is that when you sign in, it now encrypts your posting key locally when you sign in with Keystore. And then if you want to do anything with active key operations, so like sending funds, powering up Leo, powering up Hive, it requires that you re-sign in with Keystore. You sign that one transaction, and then your active key is immediate. Like there's no exposure on your active key. So then if you want to go do another transaction of any kind, you have to re-enter your active your for Keystore. You have to re-sign in with Keystore in order to do that operation. And then Leo Auth works the same way with obviously just entering the key directly. Um, so with all these new wallet options, they're all working the same way, kind of on that same base framework. So this update to Leo Auth actually is a really important one. If our focus is security, which it is, we need to make sure that every wallet option has, high security, as high as we can make it without sacrificing user experience. So this update with, going to the local storage method with posting key only, it does put a small hamper on user experience. So if you go play with Leo Auth or Keystore now, you'll notice that the user experience is a little bit more broken up. We've done our best to not hamper the user experience too much, but also still maintain that high level of security. So like I said, the main hit on user experience is that now, with Leo Auth, every time you leave the site and come back, you have to re-enter your PIN code. That being said, it's a 6-digit PIN code. It's really fast. Like you can just make a PIN code that you know easily. It does need to be somewhat secure, otherwise the UI won't let you use it. But it's really easy to just come in and enter a quick PIN code. And I'm sure over time you'll get even faster with it. So again, that's one thing. And then with active, operations, especially for Keystore users, you do have to re-upload your Keystore file and enter your decryption password every time you do a financial transaction. But I hope that, especially if you're like a crypto Keystore user, you appreciate the added level of security that brings. So it's, just one extra step. And I spent a lot of time thinking about this, that the average user doesn't really make a ton of financial transactions per day. How often is a Keystore user really like cashing out Dash or powering up Leo or powering up Hive? It's most likely not more than a once a day occurrence, if even that. It's probably a few times a week for a power user. So So yeah, I don't think it's a huge hamper on the user experience, but it does add an extra step. And the trade-off is that you get more security. So that's why we originally developed it the way we did. And after receiving the feedback that people weren't happy with the security level, that's why we changed things to the way they are now. Brando said the phantom login method will be gold. So many people are already using that wallet. Yeah, I agree. It's like I said, there's so many, extensions out there and different login methods and crypto wallets. And it's really important that we, continue to develop and add more optionality for potential people that want to onboard to Hive. So, I'm very happy with Keystore and how it's working and with the Leo auth updates as well. And expanding that to more wallet options is just going to be a huge net positive for the Hive ecosystem. So if you missed it, one big update to the INLEO proposal lately, and I saw a few of you guys asking about it, is that we are open sourcing all of INLEO's onboarding and sign-in methods. So obviously making those as secure as possible, improving the code base is a really important thing to do right now. And then, moving on a path towards open sourcing it, within the next kind of 30 to 60 days is my goal. And push that fully open source so that all Hive UIs can tap in. One major benefit of this will be that if another Hive UI wants to integrate key store logins, for example, I want to make that really easy for them with like a plug and play API, so they can just use a simple API call, and then they can design a UI around that API call. And then anyone who signed up with Keystore on INLEO can then go log into, PeakD or ECNC or 3Speak, or Like2 or some of these other platforms using their Keystore wallet. So again, they can kind of explore the Hive ecosystem more without having that huge burden of saying, hey, go download this new browser extension called Hive Keychain and learn about it. And you need to do all these things before you can use other Hive apps. I think it's too much of a burden to ask a brand new user to do that. And I also think that, over time, the education drip that I kept talking about, it is the best way to get them into Hive Keychain in the future. And when we do all these partnerships and collaborations, getting them, my goal is to create more Hive users. Obviously I want more INLEO users as well, but I'm a big fan, and I've said this for years, of a rising tide raises all ships. And when we do these collaborations and we onboard other ecosystems like we did with Dash, I want these new users to be able to use all the different Hive apps very easily. And I think that onboarding will be a lot more sticky and effective, and the retention rate will be better if we, have these login methods on other UIs, not just INLEO. So right now, INLEO is the only one that has, Keystore, for example. And when we integrate these other wallets, which the work is actually done for those, we just have to, we have it in beta and we just have to release them. For things like Phantom, Control Wallet and other wallets, we want to make sure that other Hive UIs have the option, if they want to, have those sign-in methods, so that they can benefit from all the marketing and collaborations that we're doing as part of the DHF proposal. Salome said, since it's time for whens, when will there be a tool to translate threads? Yeah, so the translation, this is a part of Leo AI and the AI integrations on the UI. The translation has started with menu options. So as you can change the language of the menu. And then you can and then from there, phase 2 of that update is going to be the ability to translate threads and blog posts and other forms of content directly on the site. It does use AI to translate. So we've added like some really, really cool features for that. I don't have a timeline for when we're going to release that. We'll see. The focus right now is on onboarding integrations, the DHF proposal, collaborating with other ecosystems, and then, obviously releasing our tech open source so that other Hive UIs can benefit from all of our hard work. So down the road, we will release that language update. It's going to work kind of interestingly. You'll get like maybe 10 free translations per day, and then you'll need to go premium if you want more than 10. The reason why we have to do it that way is because each translation uses AI, so it has a cost. It's not free. Obviously, it's all fractions of pennies, but that can add up. If you got 1,000 users that are translating 10 times a day, it's 10,000 transactions a day. And the cost of those AI credits can really stack up. So, we'll have some amount of free translations per day. And then if you want more, if you want unlimited translations, you'll have to go premium. And then if you're premium, you'll get unlimited translations. We're also making it so that if someone else translates a thread, and then you view it and your language is set to that language, like let's say that someone comes into this threadcast and they're translating each thread in the threadcast to Spanish, and then let's say that you're a free user, you don't have premium, and you come to the threadcast and you have Spanish as your language. It will automatically translate all the threads that that other person has translated. So it doesn't have to double translate because it's already spent the AI credits to do it. So. Tara Draz said, "Hello, Lions. Interesting conversation. I hope the DHF gets funded soon. I'm sure it'll happen." Yeah, we've kind of been battling with the line. We're at 98% right now. We were at 100% on Tuesday, so we've just been kind of playing this up and down game. Obviously, there's a little bit of back and forth happening. There's some people that are you know, trying to push us below the line, and we're just answering all. I think the key for us is we're answering all the feedback. We're making things better. We're listening to what people have to say, whether they like Leo or don't like Leo. I'm open to any and all feedback on how we can, not only improve INLEO, but improve the open source contributions that INLEO wants to make now and in the future for Hive. No, Ben, you're not too late. I didn't really decide how long we'll be doing this for. Most likely something about around an hour. So we've probably got at least 20, 30 more minutes is the rough plan. Yeah, hit me with any questions you guys have. I'm willing to answer anything. Sunseeker said, when Chainflip and Rango are added to Leo Dex, will Keystore be needed, or will Keystore need updates to add the new options? No, so let's see if I can get you guys a screenshot of that, just because it'll make a lot more um it'll make a lot more sense with a screenshot. Well, here's a screenshot of how the routing looks. So when you do a swap, it looks like this. Posted that in the threadcast. So when you do a swap, you'll see it. The new update will change it'll give you different route options depending on the network. So like, Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, and Rango all have kind of different assets. They also have different liquidity. And so that means that they can have different route, potential. So, for example, being faster or being more efficient in terms of slippage. So, each protocol kind of has its own, different set of the kind of end result of the swap, so to speak. So, if you put in a swap like the screenshot shows from 2 Bitcoin to Ethereum, it'll essentially just quote you all 4 different networks, and it'll tell you which one's the fastest, which one's the cheapest in terms of the lowest slippage, etc. And then from there, you can obviously just choose which route makes the most sense for you. So, I would say, and then also it tells you which one's recommended, and recommended is kind of like a simple algorithm that tells you, this one is relatively fast and relatively cheap. So it makes a trade-off between like fast and cheap. And it meets it kind of in the middle. So you'll be able to choose those routes though when you quote a swap. Let me look to answer that specific question. I'm looking for a screenshot I posted. Otherwise, I'll just pull up the beta UI and grab it. All right, here we go. This was what I was looking for. Here's another screenshot. So Sunseeker, to answer your question, there's no updates needed specifically to Keystore. part of the update with Rango, Chainflip, and Thorchain is that we're also adding, a vast majority of the wallets that people use on other swapping UIs. And, with adding all these wallets, it also adds all the different networks that these different wallets support. So now when you go to LeoDex, or when this update goes live, when you go to LeoDex, you'll select which wallet you want to connect with. And when you select a wallet to connect with, it tells you which networks that wallet supports on LeoDex. So if you connect with, for example, MetaMask, it'll show you all the different EVM networks that are out there, like Avalanche, Binamask. It'll tell you that you're joining with all those networks. So then when you go to swap on LeoDex, you'll see which cryptos are, supported by the wallet you're logged in with. And another thing we're adding is the ability to set a specific receiving address. So obviously this is going to come with a lot of, you're going to need to have a lot of self-direction on this point, because if you put a address in, you're manually putting that address in, similar to like if you go to, if you go to send Hive or HBD and you choose someone's username, if you make any typo in that, it's going to get lost. So the same thing will work here. Like if you specifically choose an address that's not connected, so it'll try to default to swapping into an address that you're connected with. And if you want to, you can manually change that receiving address to any address you want. I know, Joel, you told me about this as well. So yeah, this is something that a lot of people want. It's something that's pretty heavily utilized on other swapping UIs. But there is a big, kind of looming need for the user to be very careful about what they do, if you manually input an address. So when you do that on LeoDex, it'll confirm with you twice that that's the correct address. And you have to check a box that says, I've confirmed this is the right address, and before you hit swap, because if you swap to the wrong address, it's completely your fault if you made a typo of any kind. So it's important to remember that LeoDex is just a swapping tool that connects you to these different cross-chain DEX platforms. It's not a platform itself. It's just a UI. Andersino, yeah, there's been a few cool AI agent ideas on the GitLab. You guys are definitely welcome to keep putting more in there. I want to keep developing out more AI agent ideas. Monk Master said it's frustrating that the INLEO DHF proposal is not funded, but head down and nose to the grindstone, along with continued efforts to win over as many people as possible, will bear fruit in the long run. Yeah, I agree. I think you just need to focus, our team just needs to focus on delivering. Obviously we need that proposal to pass to do these collaborations, but as part of the update to the proposal, we're open sourcing all of our, onboarding infrastructure and methods. And I think the sooner we can open source that stuff and prove that, what INLEO is aiming to do is not just, collaborate and onboard a bunch of new users, but we want to make sure that every Hive UI, is able to prosper and benefit from all the work we're doing and the investment from the DHF into marketing these technologies. So I think open sourcing it is a really great step. And yeah, I hope to turn some people who, may not support what we're doing now into supporters because of the open source movement. And we have seen, that's why when we made that change, INLEO was like 75%, I think, and then we went to 100% within a week of making that open source update. So I think that resonated with a lot of people, and just to keep pushing forward, I think, delivering on a lot of the things we say will obviously turn a lot of people into supporters. So, and then, another thing I've been considering is, putting out a blog post and reporting on, not just our contributions in terms of open source developments, but also reporting on, spending and transparency in terms of the DHF proposal itself. I was listening to Shadows Pub and Buttcoins. They have their own podcast every week, and they had block trades on this week, and they obviously were talking a lot about the DHF and various things related to it. I'm sure one of you guys has a link to the recording if you want to drop it in the threadcast for everybody. But they were talking about different things when it comes to the DHF, different gripes that people have, different questions that people have. And one of the big points of feedback that I heard was that they wish that more projects that were being funded by the DHF would put out regular updates on what they're doing, transparent accounting, et cetera. And they feel a little frustrated that a lot of these funded projects don't really talk much publicly. Like they're very like private facing, and they don't talk much to the community. So obviously INLEO has always been different in that regard. We've always been very community facing, in many different ways, including obviously this AMA. Like, we're here every week. We're here, live, answering questions, answering the wins. But then also, I'm sure you guys see, I'm hyper active on Threads and on X. So there's easy access to me. You can just tag me on Threads, and I almost always reply. And then obviously the feedback tag and other things. So, being user facing and not only facing to the INLEO users, but facing to the Hive users and also facing broadly into the space, those things matter a lot to me. So, I was listening to that podcast and I was just thinking, maybe INLEO can improve a little bit on the standards and the expectations when it comes to DHF proposals, because I do also agree that there's kind of a lack of reporting and transparency. So, I think the first critical step for us is to, make our make our reporting as transparent as possible, and then do it on a regular basis. So yeah, along with all of the other things that we've been working on and pushing forward on, we are we're making progress on more transparent reporting in general. Andersino asked for the link to the GitLab. Might possibly. All right, let me grab the GitLab link and I'll drop it for you guys. There's been what, 5, 6, 7, I think 7 agent ideas shared there. So the plan with the agents integration is essentially me reviewing them every week or so, and then attaching bounties to them. So we'll kind of push from there, and hopefully get some good bounties attached, and then you guys can learn. I know some of you guys already know how to build agents. Ahmad Manga might possibly, and others. And yeah, if we can attach some Leo bounties to them, and then you can build the agents and submit the code open source, then we can actually take that code and then potentially deploy it as an agent on the UI. So I think it can add a lot of value over time if we have those things. And just on open source in general, we've been making a lot of changes to the way that INLEO does a lot of things. And I think our open source contributions to Hive in general are going to start to increase. So what I want to see, more of is us contributing that open source code to Hive, so that all of Hive can benefit from the things that we do. The INLEO team's always trying to innovate the next, step forward, is, for Hive to grow and thrive. And we've built a lot of those things in-house and closed source. So if this proposal goes well and we open source the onboarding technology and all of that goes really well, then I'm going to look to open source possibly the whole INLEO UI at some point, and make all of our technology for Hive widely available to every Hive UI, so everyone can benefit from it. Vimuk said, what about having a separate advanced mode for features that are not safe for noobs, the way to get the fancy tricks without increasing support tickets? Yeah, I think there's a lot we can do in terms of advanced features. I don't know if you guys were around for this, but um we used to have an alpha UI that people in the community could use if you wanted early access to features. But it ended up with not very many people actually using the alpha UI, or there were kind of two different eras of the alpha UI. There was a moment where too many people were using it, and people that weren't ready for something like an alpha UI. So, users who, were just kind of casually using the platform ultimately ended up on the alpha UI, and then they were confused why there were so many issues, but they were using the alpha UI. Um, then we told people to go to production, and then kind of almost too many people went to production. So then we didn't have enough people on the alpha UI to even make sense to maintain two UIs. So we ultimately just decided to have a private Alpha UI, and and make that available, just to the internal team, so that we can test stuff in private and then release them to production when they're more refined. And then obviously you guys know that the approach has become, we test stuff in private in the Alpha UI, and then we push stuff to production when we've made a bunch of bug changes and fixes, and then you guys can make more feedback requests based on that, which ultimately allows us to push updates a lot faster because you guys become, the entire production user base becomes our alpha UI testers. So, while that might lead to, some more users facing bugs than most people are accustomed to, I think it does lead to faster updates and faster fixes on our end. So I'm pretty happy with how things have been in terms of, that change. I don't plan to change it anytime soon. Joel, you said you had a call with Starkers and you have some ideas for making everything more win-win. Would love to brainstorm. Yeah, feel free to DM me. Task said, just outpace everyone with development, move faster than the rest of them. Yeah, I think INLEO has always proven to push development as fast as we can, um, and really just expand the boundaries of what's possible. So, if you go back a few years, not even a few years, you know, Hive was mainly just blogging, and then a handful of other Hive apps, and there was no short form content of any kind. And then InLeo developed obviously the container approach to doing microblogging, and now that's live on most major Hive UIs. So I think that's one really good example of how InLeo kind of leads in terms of technology. And in the past, like I said, we've always done that siloed and in-house and closed source. But I think moving forward, we'll start to do more things open source, and potentially everything in terms of the social media side of InLeo. I think could go open source on Hive. So. Um, yeah, obviously I want this proposal to pass, and I want to keep pushing forward on the collaborations, because I think it's really beneficial for Hive. So, I want to get this onboarding tech open sourced and then do the collaborations, and I think that's going to bring a lot of new users to Hive, and I think that's what Hive really needs desperately, is more users and more investors and more people that are curious about Hive, and spreading the word about the technology here, because Hive is an amazing place, but we need more. Um, you we need more users. Mike possibly said, I really like this move towards open source. I've never been of the opinion that necessarily everything needs to be open source, but in general, it's a good thing for both InLeo and the rest of the ecosystem. Yeah, you know, I think and here's my thesis about open source and why InLeo has been closed source, for the past 6 years since we started. Uh, I had a vision for what Leo would become one day. And in my opinion, especially in the early days when things were very fluid, you need a kind of central driving force that has a singular vision and can ignore what everybody else says and just push toward that vision. So when things are small, sometimes being centralized and being closed source is a better path to getting to that, closer to that end state. But as things evolve and grow and change, becoming open source can make a lot of sense. And in terms of making a lot of sense, like, by open sourcing, we invite other Hive developers to contribute. We also, allow our technology to get implemented on other Hive UIs and potentially improved by those other Hive UIs. And then we, as the open source, maintainers, can look at what they're doing, and then we can implement it on our, on the main branch of the code base. And then everything kind of progresses forward because everyone's contributing, everyone's using it in different ways. Everyone's learning from each other. So you're seeing a lot of that happen in the AI space, broadly speaking, with open source movements, with Llama, and with, DeepSeek. People are learning from each other and working together in this open source environment. So I agree, and I think that INLEO has reached a point now where open sourcing makes a lot of sense, where it didn't make that much sense in the past, because we needed to get to a point where the vision was, kind of more solidified. And I think we are at that point. Like, I think INLEO's vision in terms of, building project, like, you guys remember a day when I know a lot of you guys were here for this, when Project Blank was just like this idea. And it was just like, one day, that's why it was called Project Blank, because I think so many people didn't believe that we would actually deliver it. It was just this thing that we kept talking about. We're going to build a decentralized Twitter. We talked about it for almost, I think, 18 months. And most people just literally didn't believe in it. So, the joke was Project Blank, we're working on it. And I think what happened was, we developed it obviously in-house, closed source. Most people didn't believe in us, and then we delivered. And I think the INLEO team has proven that no matter what happens, ups, downs, people hitting us from all angles, we deliver at the end of the day. Over promise and over deliver has always been my, modus operandi. It's what matters most to me. So we'll just continue to keep pushing forward no matter what. And I think you guys know that. But yeah, I agree with Mike possibly. Like, I think open sourcing makes a ton of sense now. It didn't necessarily make sense in the past. Um, yeah, Ahmad Manga. While I also don't believe everything should be open source, I still think an open source project could have a centralized main branch that doesn't necessarily take user suggestion in the updates. Anyone who sees things differently can just fork it. Yeah, I agree. I think, a mixture of taking in feedback, but not letting people distract you from your goal is really important. So, um, yeah, it is vital to be able to maintain your vision, but also be able to build. And I think we've reached a good point where, um, I think we've reached a good point where that vision is pretty solidified. So now that now that we're, solidly where we want to be, we can open source things and continue to innovate. But we can do so in a more open, public and collaborative environment for the broader Hive space. So, I'm excited to see, like, when we open source the way that shorts work, for example, or open source premium, or open source, you know, um, the stats, or open source dashboard, or the caching out stuff. Like, all of this stuff going open source over time can get really interesting if other people come up with cool use cases for it. And I talked about this in a blog post you guys can find on the Leo Finance account. Um, my goal with open sourcing things, and I do have a theory and thesis on how open source stuff should work, in my opinion. But my goal is not just to open source our code base and say, okay, here you go. My goal is to create finalized products that other people can integrate on Hive. So, it's not just, and that you'll see this with the onboarding. So as part of the DHF proposal we have, we're not just open sourcing the onboarding code and saying, okay, here's the code, do with it what you want. We are doing that. We're open sourcing the code and saying, do with it what you want. But in addition to that, we're creating plug and play API calls that any UI can literally just take and have a low bandwidth way of integrating these login methods, like Keystore, for example, without needing any coding. Like, the only coding they'll need to do is their front end to make a UI for it. But outside of that, all the hard part is handled by the API that we build. So, my interest is not in building, half-baked products, which I think is a problem in open source. Like, people tend to, like, get the football 80% down the field, and then they just drop it and they say, okay, here, now you guys run with it. And I don't really necessarily believe in that approach that much. I would much rather, my team have an approach where we build the code the way we see fit, we build an end product that's actually usable and has product market fit. And then we take that and we build, we release it open source so people can do with it what they want. But then we also make plug and play API calls where other UIs can just say, you know what? I really like what you guys have built. I don't want to customize it other than on the front end. I just want to take it and be able to run with it in a day. And the API calls allow for that. It's a finalized product that you can just take and put in your own shop. It's not something where you have to take the raw materials and make it yourself. So I think it's a really I think it's a much better approach, at least in my opinion, and for my goals in the Hive world and broadly speaking. Ben has said, "Let me host INLEO locally." Yeah, this proposal going through and going well, and us open sourcing the onboarding tech leads us down a path where we open source the entire INLEO, social media side of things. And if you did want to run INLEO locally, you'd be able to. Um, and then obviously it would all kind of derive value back to Leo and Hive. So yeah, I could see a future where the UI becomes fully open source. Obviously it starts with this proposal passing and doing well. So that's, my currently that's my number one focus is, open source the onboarding technology, get the proposal passed, and do these collaborations so that we can onboard a bunch of users, and then over time open source more parts of it in Leo. It's this chart that Salmi posted. Oh, it's a Hive price. Yeah, buying Hive at 25 cents has historically been a pretty good idea. Lord Shaw said, does INLEO share APIs publicly? We have some APIs that are publicly available, and there's been some cool. This was actually a driving force in me changing my mind a little bit when it comes to open source. Is some people have come up with really cool implementations using some of the APIs we have public. Um, for example, like Might possibly and Ahmad Manga have done some cool stuff with those APIs. For example, around premium, and creator subs and being able to offer, exclusive features, for example, if you subscribe to them. And that was my vision with creator subs is like, can we make a lot of really, really interesting use cases around private access, encrypted content, etc. And we've seen some cool use cases, and I want to see that grow more. Again, another thing that I would love to open source to the broader Hive ecosystem, and then Peak D, Ecency, and some of these other UIs can have things like encrypted content for subscribers only. Again, we come up with these really funny ideas, and then you guys attach cool names to them. And for example, like Project Blank, and then we also had only Leos. So, when I first started talking about the encrypted content on chain, you guys, said, so it's like OnlyFans, but on Leo. And you were right. Now you can do private content on chain. Obviously we called it creator subscriptions, not only Leos. Just like how Project Blank turned into INLEO. Monk Masters, we Lions need to buy more Hive and delegate it to Leo.voter. Yeah, that also makes a big difference. It does make a big difference. iJets, I haven't checked the proposal today, but let's see. The return is at 36,160,000 and INLEO is at 35,700,000. So we are just about 350,000 below the or sorry, 450,000 below the return. Yeah, Mod, we'll keep releasing more APIs open source. That's a big part of our plan. I saw some of you guys saying the X wasn't working well. If X doesn't work well for you guys, I always recommend listening on YouTube where you can also watch. And I'll drop the link to that right now. We'll probably just do a few more questions and then jump off. I think it's been, what has it been? Just at almost exactly an hour. So drop your last couple questions and then I will jump off of here. Yeah, Ben, we have YouTube. Winanda said the X space is fine now. Yeah, I know X can be all over the place. Ben, it's Thursday, not Tuesday. Yeah, I just wanted to do kind of a spontaneous AMA. That's why I called it the firefighter AMA because I've been spending all week fighting fires and I was kind of distracted on Tuesday, so I feel like it wasn't a really great AMA. So I just wanted a little bit more juice this week. Have a good one, Ahmad. Thanks for coming. Andersino, we changed the proposal slightly to do less integrations with a little bit more time in between them. This was a piece of feedback we got from block trades, about 2 weeks ago. So, one piece of feedback was to open source at least the onboarding methods. And then another piece of feedback was to spread out the integrations a little bit so that the Hive community can kind of analyze and assess and make sure that each integration is more successful. So they're a little bit more spread out. So we haven't actually, I do think we are wasting a little bit of time by not being funded, but I hope that we change that in the near future. So that we can get on with these collaborations because some of these partners are asking kind of like, what's going on and why is it taking so long, etc. Lord Shaw wants a link to the INLEO Discord. Let's see if I can grab you one. All right, I just sent you a link. Winanda said, nice Guinness t-shirt, Kyle. Thank you. I appreciate it. I found it in my closet yesterday and forgot I had it. Anderson, you dropped an AI agent idea. Yeah, definitely keep pushing out ideas. Like I said, I'm going to review them on a somewhat regular basis, and then I'll attach bounties to them, um, and then hopefully see more open source contributions in terms of AI on INLEO. I think it'd be a really great thing, especially as we continue to build out Leo AI itself. Having agents that work on different AI platforms. Using open source models like Llama and using things like Grok, et cetera. Having more agents that kind of pull all this stuff together and then interact with the UI and Leo AI itself can ultimately lead to a lot better kind of cross development. So I would definitely love to see more agentic solutions on INLEO and open source contributions around them. Because the INLEO team is, as you could probably tell, pretty well tapped in terms of what we've got on our plate. So having more contributions from you guys is awesome. And I know, Mike possibly is working on a lot of this stuff. Ahmad is also working with me on some stuff. And I'm sure, the cool thing about AI agents is that you can use AI to build them, So if you don't have any coding knowledge, it's actually, it's not easy. I mean, coding's not easy in any sense, but it's very possible to jump in with no coding experience and build a very simple agent, and then kind of go from there, and then build more complex agents, and kind of refine your abilities to do so. Um, I saw Task post something about how OpenAI is offering like $29,000 a month subscriptions for AI agents. Agents can provide a lot of value. So, if you have a really good agent solution, there's no telling what the ceiling is in terms of value. It's like having someone that works 24/7, 365, and, doesn't take lunch breaks, doesn't, sleep, and does everything you want it to do. So if you can build these agents in a way that can derive value and create things, or interact with things in various ways, I think there's a lot of value to be created there. I have not used the Maestro models. I'm not sure if anyone else here has used them or not. The Hive tuber said, "Is it just me, or does Cal have the most fire beard ever?" Well, I appreciate it. I don't think so. I think it could be a lot better, but I appreciate it. Lord Shah said, use Langflow. It's a low code solution provider and widely used by AI startups and project developers. Um, yeah, my advice is to experiment with all sorts of different AIs, and kind of learn from there. Joel said Grok 3 is pretty amazing in my honest opinion. Yeah, I started using it, when it came out, and I've been using it a lot more, and then also the voice features recently. It's really good. I also like that it can do the voice features in the background. One gripe I've had with OpenAI is that the voice features require that you stay in the app. I also think it's really annoying. Like, if someone else talks, or there's any noise whatsoever on OpenAI, on ChatGPT's, voice integration, it'll like pick up the voice. Like, even if you're like watching TV and you're trying to talk to it, like, it just doesn't work. But Grok has proven to be a lot better for me, at least, in terms of that. Joel said he has the most fire metabolism ever. I work out and eat literally one-fourth of what he does. Yeah, I'm remembering that. What did we have in Croatia? We had that shawarma. Um, yeah, it was. I definitely like to eat. I definitely like to eat. Andersino, what would happen if you went to like Peak D and upvoted the Leo containers? Can you upvote the containers on snaps? Yeah, I mean, you can upvote the containers for sure, if you want to. It just would upvote the Leo Threads account. Might possibly said Claude 3.7 Sonnet is my go-to. Yeah, I mean, one thing I've noticed is that everyone kind of has their own favorite AI. And I think that goes to show you that the market and the competition is really good and solid, because, people have different use cases for different AIs. But yeah, I have noticed that Claude seems to be, one of the more preferred models when it comes to development and coding in general. So a lot of developers tend to like Claude more than others. But, to speak a little bit more broadly on the AI conversation, like, there's a reason why AI is the conversation in all companies right now, in the broader financial world. Um, and I don't I think that we need to do more on INLEO and on Hive in general. When it comes to AI, I think there's a lot of potential value out there to finding ways to integrate AI to make Hive better. So, I know that AI is kind of like this scary word on Hive, because people are like, oh, well, AI generated content, this and that. There are a lot of use cases and tools for AI outside of generating content. So I agree that, generating content and posting that content and pretending it's yours, is not a good thing for Hive. But that's one very minor use case of AI. It's just kind of one of the most obvious obvious ones. Um, when you start to dive into AI a little bit more, you start to realize just how much is possible. Really, it's limitless in terms of possibilities of what you can do. And I wish more people on Hive and especially on INLEO would look at AI and look for ways that they can contribute value to the ecosystem by using these tools. Tass said AI is a force multiplier. That's what most miss. 100%. Yeah, people fail to see that AI can just be used to multiply your, output as a human, as someone trying to contribute value. And then if you're able to figure out AI agents, it's that much more value because those agents can run and do things for you that make you better, and they can do them 24/7 without any direction from you. One kind of step change that happened for me was when I was listening to Jensen Wang from NVIDIA, and one thing he said about agentic AI and just AI in general is that a big change for him was realizing that speaking to AI is not much different than speaking to employees at your company. For example, you know when you give an order to someone at your company, you tell them to do something, you're giving them instructions, you're telling them what you want and what you want to see, and then you're tracking their progress, and then you review what they gave you. And either you don't like it, or you want some changes, or it's perfect to your standards. And talking AI, teaching AI, using AI agents is all the same. It's, you're giving an order to do something, and that AI might deliver what you want the first time, or you might have to tweak um, your approach and what you ask it for. And if you do that, then it improves. So you may not get what you want on the first go around with AI, the same way that if you had an employee and you were telling them, can you do this for me? They may not do it the way you want it, or they may not do it in the time frame you want it. But with AI, if you start to think about that, start to think about AI and AI agents as like, your own employees or your own workforce. And realize that you can approach them, by prompting them, you're essentially giving them a task and asking them to do something for you. And, your job as the CEO of those AIs or AI agents is to improve how you manage them and improve the prompt that you give them in order to get the output that you desire. So that was kind of a big change for me, was, in terms of just how you think about AI and how you use it in your everyday life. Ben Hass said, "Me make money, AI agent." Okay, yeah, it's that's obviously a big thing that people are trying to figure out. Monk Master said, "Go Leo Dex." Yeah, it went over the deployment target, so we gotta see when it pulls some Leo and Cacao. But yeah, keep using Leo Dex and keep pushing. Hive Tuber, that's kind of interesting. Similar, or just how like Leo Dex is becoming a cross-chain solution. Can Leo AI become a cross AI solution where all AI come together to create something? Uh, yeah, I think, and it's like I said, I think it's interesting to get more. I think it's interesting to get more contributions in an open source way to bring more AI agents and different AI agents that run on different models and having them kind of interact together. So I think it can be a big value add. Might possibly paraphrase everything I just said by saying prompting AI and prompting humans is basically the same thing. Yep, that is very true. iJat said, I would suggest running autonomous agents on a burner computer only rather than on your daily driver machine, as almost all frontier models have been proven to be capable of lying and cheating to their own creators. It's probably preferable not to hand them a hold of your computer or phone. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I like to run them in virtual private servers. I think that's another great approach, is you can, have pretty cheap servers that can run, different agents inside of them. Tass said the value of Leo will be driven ultimately by network effects. This can be enhanced by AI. We're going to see the value of AI interactions taking off. Yeah, I mean, people underestimate and they don't, humans are notoriously bad at exponentials, math, and, understanding the future and adapting to it quickly. Um, that's just a notorious thing for humans. And I think what a lot of people are going to learn in the next couple of years and really couple of months, as has already been happening, is AI is going to trickle into everything that you do, and whether or not you realize it, it's going to be there. Um, so I think Leo being on the forefront of technology in general is really important. So just as we have been with many other things, we will be with AI. Lord Shah, does INLEO run a Hive node? Yeah, we run a full Hive node. Um, we run a full Hive node, and we have a Hive witness as well. We also run, in addition to all of that, we also run our own half instance and half node. So that and it's not HALF. It's not HALF. It's HAF. We run a half node. So if you don't know what that is, it's allows us to pull more data from the chain. It was developed by Madiari. I think I'm saying that right. And it allows you to do a lot of really awesome things. So a lot of what you guys see, like for example, with the leaderboard, that's all running on half. It's running on our own instance of half. Um, so pretty incredible development, especially if you have developed anything for Hive prior to that. What Mod Yari made, it makes things a lot better, a lot faster, a lot more efficient. So Joel said he blew up my XDMs. No need to check them till after the stream. I'm gonna read them out loud right now. How about that? Just kidding. You guys have any final questions? We will close this out. We've been going for an hour 16. And then I'll go respond to Joel on X, and then also get back to building all of the things. Only in my only Leos, Ben. Just kidding. Wananda, I'm assuming you're asking because of the notifications on newer accounts. Yeah, we're working on an API for that. Yeah, I'll take a look after the show. I think we're good. I think this was a good AMA. Definitely makes me feel better after the AMA from Tuesday. I feel less distracted. So uh, um we will keep pushing forward on all of the things. And obviously, we're working hard to get everything ready to open source the onboarding tech and push that out there. And we want to make sure that it's obviously security being the number one priority. So I'm having some Hive devs who've been gracious enough to reach out to me to look at the code base privately before we push anything public. So we're doing that, and then they're obviously playing around with it on the UI. So doing some kind of private reviews before we get everything ready to open source. But what we're going to be looking at doing is, open sourcing the onboarding tech and pushing forward on all the collaborations. So, the INLEO proposal's at 98%. We're going to keep working really hard to get it over the line and really push forward on these integrations. I think it's just ultimately, one of the biggest benefits we can bring to Hive is contributing more open source technology, and then proliferating that technology and actually getting people in the real world to use it and join Hive. So we're going to be working very hard on that front. So keep your eyes open for that. Another ask I have before we jump out of here is look out for those announcements in Discord with the @Leo Finance posts, and then also just look for them on INLEO. There's been kind of a lack of comments underneath the @Leo Finance post, so I'd love to see more engagement under those official updates. So make sure you jump over those blog posts and jump in the comments. It's definitely helpful to the project in general. I also like the feedback that we usually get. So, read the posts and leave some good feedback on it. And then we will go from there. Self-help patrol said how much is HPs needed to fund right now? About 400,000, 450,000 ish. Lord Shah, yeah. With the, I'm actually working on this blog post. I mentioned it earlier. We're going to start to publish the expenses of the DHF proposal, along with, talking about our contributions open source, and various other things related to the proposal. So we'll start to publish that on a regular basis. Just because I think one thing that a lot of people in the community want is more transparency for DHF proposals in general. So, all right, with that, uh, this was a good one. And I think Task is going to do the Lion's Den tomorrow at his normal time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern. So I will be in the audience there and obviously in the Threadcast. Thanks everybody for joining this one. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for the Lion's Den.